Well, hello, fellow speakers and presenters, and welcome to the Rise of the Dyslexic Speaker. Hi, how are you all? Now, tonight's live training will transform you and will open your mind to new ways of thinking. By the end of this training session, you will learn my 6 steps to speaking success. You'll also learn a simple, foolproof framework that you can use today, and why that framework is so important to dyslexia. And near the end, I will also show you a simple strategy to overcome your fear of public speaking. Now, you may want to take notes throughout this training session. We will cover a lot of content, and I'll be available to ask questions. As you go through, if you want to put some comments in your chat box, if you have any questions, please do so. Please ask questions, and I will do my level best to answer them. Now, there's no time in history that is better than now for you to learn how to be a speaker or presenter, and no better reason why in history that you should do it. Now, we're in an unprecedented change in history. We've now got the possibility for any of us to have our own live radio stations with podcasts, our own live TV stations with webinars and training sessions like these. It's a new world, and the growth of YouTube has absolutely exploded. And I'm really passionate about teaching people like you with dyslexia how you can become better speakers. So many times I've experienced workshops and training courses, and I've been told by many people that to write a speech, or to create a speech, you must write it out word for word. Have you heard that? Where people say you have to write everything out word for word. Then edit your speech, and then when you're ready, read it verbatim time and time again. And the trouble is, when someone says to me, you must, that's like a challenge to me. And I thought, well, I don't do that. I don't write my speeches out. Suppose, though, you are someone with dyslexia and you're presented with this problem. How are you going to feel? Suppose you're visually impaired. How is that going to work? And suppose you are a blind dyslexic person. Now, such a thing does exist as someone who has dyslexia reading Braille. So how else could you create your speech? Well, that's why I set up these training sessions. That's why I've created what I have created. So in our 6 steps to speaking success, the first thing we need is a structure. Now, many people with dyslexia thrive on having structure, and this is no different. If we have structure in public speaking, it gives us confidence. We also need something that's visual based, a picture based system. That's a visual based system to present to other people, and a visual based system for our own minds. And we need some way to engineer this speech, this presentation. So engineer as in put it together. We might have a structure. We might have a way to incorporate pictures and use pictures to recall it. We need some way to put it together and put it to practical use. And once we've got our presentation, We need to engage our audience. We need some way to grab their attention, draw them in, and make them feel that they're part of this presentation. And we need to boost our confidence. We need to have the confidence to stand on stage in front of these people. We need to have various techniques to overcome our fear of public speaking and our belief that other people won't want to hear from us, won't want to listen to us. But I could teach you all these things. I could teach you all 5 parts within this speaking structure. But to be honest, it would be useless without the 6th part. See, the 6th part is absolutely key to binding all this together in one. And that's the thing in your head, the bit between your ears, your brain, your mind. You see, if you don't honestly believe that you can do something, then it's true, you can't do it. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. So whether you think you can do something or whether you think you can't do something, you're right. So working with our mind is incredibly important. In fact, the most important part of becoming a public speaker. So it's in 1954 that 2 men had battled to achieve a tremendous feat, something in history that had never ever been achieved before. The first was John Landy. He was an Australian man who was an Olympic runner. He was a fantastic runner. His adversary was Roger Bannister. Now, both men in 1954, they had spent years trying to achieve this goal, and they decided in 1954 this was it. They were going to achieve their goal. But they wanted to be the first. Who was going to be the first? Well, John Landy and Roger Bannister both had a goal to become the first man to break the 4-minute mile. Now, in April, the 19th of April, 1954, John Landy made his attempt. He made his first attempt that year to break his 4-minute mile, and he failed by 2.6 seconds. He was almost there. It didn't matter how many times he tried, he continually kept failing. And then Roger Bannister in May made his attempt on a grim, wet, rainy day in England. He didn't believe he could do it. He thought the conditions were poor and he wouldn't make it. But his coach convinced him that he could do it. And sure enough, on the 6th of May, Roger Bannister was the first man in history to break the 4-minute mile in 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. Now, what a lot of people don't realise, that it was only 1 month later that John Landy also made another attempt in June 1954 to run the 4-minute mile. And John Landy, on the 21st of June 1954, not only ran the 4-minute mile and beat the 4-minute mile, he absolutely smashed Roger Bannister's record. He smashed it. Which begs the question really, so why was it that John Landy had spent years trying to break the 4-minute mile and couldn't do it, but then managed to do it in a record time 1 month after Roger Bannister did it? Well, that's because Roger Bannister had a secret weapon. Roger Bannister had something that John Landy didn't have, and that was Franz Stamfel. Franz Stamfel was an Austrian coach, and Franz Stamfel had a unique perspective on his coaching, a unique way of doing things. Franz Stamfel specialised in working on the mind. See, Franz Stamfel realised that 4 minutes was just a number. Whereas the medical profession had told everyone out there, including John Landy and Roger Bannister, if you broke the 4-minute mile, it would kill you. But Franz Stamfel knew that was just an arbitrary figure. It was just a number. And there was nothing stopping someone breaking that other than breaking through a new number. So it's Franz Stamfel working with Roger Bannister's mind and allowing him to overcome those beliefs. See, Roger Bannister had, like John Landy, a story in his head, a broken story that said he couldn't do it. And Franz Stamfel convinced him he could. That was Roger Bannister's secret weapon. And after he ran that, Franz Stamfel said, with the proper motivation, that is a good reason to do it, your mind can overcome any sort of adversity. And Roger Bannister said, if a man coaches himself, then he has only himself to blame when he is beaten. So this is why your head, your mind, that thing between your ears is the most important, the key part to you becoming a great speaker. Because you need to overcome your fears. You need to overcome your beliefs. You need to change your broken story and create a story that will empower you. That's why the mind is what we first start coaching. And you'll get an insight into this when I tell you later on how you can overcome your fear in public speaking. So let's just take a quick look at structure. Now, every speech, every presentation has a basic, simple structure. You've seen this structure around you time and time again, many, many years, all your life, in fact, you've seen this structure. But we take it for granted because we see it. We don't appreciate the power this structure has. This structure is a simple a beginning, a middle, and an end. As simple as that. A beginning, a middle, and an end. So let's just delve a little deeper into this, shall we? Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs, and they decided they wanted to build a house. The big bad wolf was listening, and he liked to eat little pigs for dinner. Undeterred, the 3 pigs went off believing they could build a house that the big bad wolf couldn't break through. So the first little pig built a house of straw, and the big bad wolf huffed and puffed and blew the house down. The second little pig built a house of sticks, and the big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew that house down. And the third little pig built a house of stone, and the big bad wolf huffed and puffed, but he couldn't blow the house down. And the 3 little pigs were in that stone house, and they heard the wolf on the roof. So they lit a fire in the fireplace and put a big pot of boiling water on it. And the big bad wolf fell down the chimney and landed in a pot of water. And the three little pigs lived happily ever after. And this is our simple structure. We start off in this structure introducing the characters. We then introduce a problem. We hint that there could be a solution. We take you on a journey and show you 1, 2, 3 steps to a solution. And at the end of it, we summarize with an ending. We show you the baddie, the problem. We show you the solution. And we give you a happy ending or a call to action. Now this is, surprisingly enough, a simple structure for every TV program you watch, every advert you watch, when I say advert, if you haven't watched it yet, watch the, I forgot the name of it, Waitrose, John Lewis advert. Watch that advert and see how that plugs in perfectly into this structure. So the adverts you have follow this structure. As I said, the TV dramas, your films, your movies, your books, your childhood books that you would listen to again and again. Maybe The Three Little Pigs was your favorite story at some point. And when you were young, you would say, Mum, Dad, please let me hear The Three Little Pigs again and again and again, until you then move on to another story because you felt engaged by a story. You could follow the structure, you could follow the journey. And this is the beauty of this structure. And even further, this structure has many uses. So when I coach one structure, this one structure, and then I'll coach many, many different ways that you can use this to deliver your presentations, to remember your presentations, to engage your audience with stage movement. It's one simple 3-part structure, and within each part is 3 parts. And it's so simple that anyone can follow this structure. Now, it's what's called modular. And modular means it can be reused in many ways. So you could use this to create a signature speech. Now, a signature speech is like your signature. A signature speech is some way that you can be identified, some way that people recognize you and people know you. And you can create one signature speech with this whole system. And then that one signature speech can be part 1 of your system. So it could be your middle story 1. And then when you create your second signature speech, that can become your middle story 2. And then your third signature speech would be story 3. Now, it was 1973 when I was a young boy, and I sat in the teacher's office. I was expecting the worst. As ever, I was expecting to get a cane, get the stick for being a naughty boy. He looked really angry. He didn't look happy at all. He sat back his arse break and said, "So Henderson, what do you want to do when you get older?" I was surprised. And I'd, funny enough, had that conversation. You see, I'd spoken to my father and said, when I get older, I'd seen the adverts on TV, and I wanted to be a sailor so I could travel the world, see the world. But my dad said, well, unfortunately, son, see, you're colourblind. You can't be a sailor. They won't take you. However, you could join as an NCO, a non-commissioned officer, and you could join as an NCO and travel the world and join the Navy. Now, I said to the teacher this, I said, well, sir, I'm thinking I'd like to be a doctor. He said, don't talk stupid, Henderson. You've got to be clever to be a doctor. And you, boy, you're not clever. You need to do something, you need to aim lower. You need to do something different, like be a milkman. So Saturday morning, I stood at the roundabout, 13 years old, and got on the milk float. You see, at 13, I was already a milkman. I was already doing the job as a milkman. So I gave up at school. What's the point? I could do the job as a milkman. What was the point in going to school? So sometime not long after that, I had the opportunity to move school. And I went to a different school, the technical college, and that opened my eyes to a new world. And I left that technical college with 7 GCSE O levels, A's to C's. It was a tough journey. It was hard, but they got me. They understood me. And that then led to a career in IT. See, not bad for a stupid boy. Now, that is just a very small sample of one of my signature speeches. You see, I have a set of signature speeches and I can plug them in to any story, any situation that I require. And a signature speech is a true story as well. And that's what we do with the signature speech. Now, there is someone we have within our group. We have Sue Walsh. She is already created her signature speech. In fact, if you search for her within the group, you will hear her speech. And I know for a fact that Sue's got a second signature speech because I've spoken to her. So everyone, every single one of us our life tells a story. And every single one of those stories depict a moment within our lives. And those moments are what make our signature speeches. They're the ones that we identify with and are defined by. And that is ultimately what you need to work towards creating a signature speech and using this system to get your signature speech. Now, this is the exact system that I teach. And this is the exact system I would like to give you guys the opportunity to learn and use in your presentations. Now, I'm widely considered to be the expert in public speaking with dyslexia. And I'm going to save you the time of creating a system like this for yourself. I'm going to save you the time of finding out how to create something without the problems of having to read and write. And in a moment, I will show you how you can overcome your fear of public speaking. But before that, I coach my systems on a one-to-one basis. And I coach, and I've decided that it's time for me to coach my systems, not just as one-to-ones, but in a group coaching, so it's accessible to everyone, so that I can impact as many people as possible, so that I can help impact and transform people like yourselves. So I've developed a program, The Speaker Begins, and in The Speaker Begins, I coach 6 one-hour live group webinar training sessions, just like this, where we delve deeper into each of these elements. And I also give you PDF workbooks you can work through so that you can get to grips with this system and videos. It's very much a video-based system. This is not a word-based system. This is a very practical dyslexic-based system. And you get access to all the webinar recordings for you to go through and see at your leisure. And this recording will also be one of those. I will be making this available to yourselves. Now, if you're interested in my training, my one-to-one coaching sessions are I'm very sought after as the expert, as the widely considered expert in public speaking with dyslexia. This is typically how much my customers pay me on a one-to-one. But I'm looking at creating a one-time investment for yourself or an installment plan with a discount code. That discount code is RISE in capitals, RISE. And we'll come back to that in a moment, because first, I would like to talk about your fears and your fear of public speaking. Now, we've all experienced this. There is not a person on earth that has not experienced at some point in their life a fear of public speaking. But the fear we have, that fear of public speaking before we go out on stage, is a fear that I might be seen to make a mistake. I might be seen to fail. I might be judged by someone else. That's where the fear stems from. But that is just a belief. That fear is a belief that you think you might fail, that you might make a mistake, or a belief that others will judge you. But a belief stems from one thing. A belief is a story that you've told yourself. And that story comes from a thought. You have a thought in your head that says, yeah, someone might judge me. Someone might see me make a mistake. I don't want to be seen to be wrong. I don't want to be seen to be different. But if it's just a thought, now here's the thing. If it's just a thought, can we change our thoughts? Do you think you could change your thoughts? Just wait a moment and consider. Roses are red, violets are... What did you write down? How many write down blue? Yeah, I can see some hands. Yeah. What colour are violets? They're not blue, are they? But you had a thought, you had a belief that they were blue. So now, when someone asks you, roses are red, violets are, will you think, maybe this is a trick question, because they're not really blue? So it's as simple as that. We can change our thoughts. Now, imagine if we could change our thoughts into something different. Change our thoughts. By changing our thoughts, we could change our beliefs. And by changing our beliefs, we can overcome our fears. Yeah? Now, in public speaking, before we go on stage, our fear that I might fail, that I might make a mistake, that I might be judged, all comes from one place. And the word is I. It's a me-based thought that I might fail. I might be judged. It's me, isn't it? So what's the opposite to me? The opposite to me is you. So if you change that thought, focus not on yourself, on someone else. So instead of thinking about me, think about you, the audience. So one of the strategies we use to overcome our fear in public speaking, immediately prior to going on stage, you say to yourself, this is not about me. This is about them, your audience, and them getting my message. So this is not about me. This is about them and them getting my message. All we're simply doing is looking at the opposite of the thought that has created the fear, which is them. And now our focus before we go on stage is not on ourselves, it's on them. Now, this works. I guarantee this works. It's been scientifically proven by PhD doctors on in studies that by changing your thoughts on something opposite to what you're afraid of, you can overcome your fear. Now, this can also be used for any fear that you have, any thought, any belief that you have that is not valid or congruent. You can change that belief by thinking of the opposite. So the opposite to sad is happy. This think a different thought, create a different belief, overcome your fear. Think a different thought, that belief is a new story, that fear has been overcome. So this is how we simply overcome our fears of public speaking. So this is part of my coaching structure. This is part of the mindset coaching that we cover within the Speaker Begins. Within our 6 1-hour live group training sessions, this is part of what we cover. The fear and the structure and how we can use all those combined together with your work groups, your videos and your live webinars. But to make this even more valuable, I've got some bonuses that I've decided need to go into this training course. Now, if you found, did you find my slides engaging? You see, we can use slides to engage our audience, and we can use slides to help us as presenters. But when we have those slides that are just boring and disengaging, we switch off. So I've decided to include an additional 1-hour live webinar on how to create slides. And the first 5 people who take up my offer and sign up for my program will receive a private one-to-one training session with myself. Everyone's speech and presentation will be reviewed. During the training, we will work with creating a signature speech for you, and it will be reviewed. And it's a risk-free guarantee. Because if you don't like any of my content and my training, if you don't benefit from this, and if you decide this is not for you, you can simply ask for your money back, and I will give you your money back. It's totally risk-free. I am that confident that what I can show you will make such a difference to you that I'm prepared to give you your money back, and you can keep all the training material that you received afterwards. The next release of this training session won't be until next year. I'm doing this now. I'm releasing this training program now, and next year the price will go up. So the one-to-one price is normally $3,499. You can get this training session for £447 with the code RISE, or you can get this training session on an installments plan, and it is completely risk-free, because if for any reason you don't feel that this has worked for you, I'll give you your money back. So the speaker begins. You can become a speaker your friends and colleagues are envious of. And I am going to post in the chat the web link for you to follow. There we go. There's a link in the chat to the cart, and you must use a discount code RISE, R-I-S-E, capitals. I sincerely hope that you've got benefit from this, and I really hope that I've helped you and made you think different, opened your mind to new ideas. Now, the cart will close at midnight on Friday the 22nd, Greenwich Mean Time, UK time. Friday the 22nd at midnight. And I thank you very much for joining me in this live training. I hope you all enjoy your evening. Thank you very much for coming.